In 1978, I spent some time in California in the fall, looking for a quiet place to live. I finally found what seemed to be the perfect apartment. But the night after I moved in, I heard a tremendous pounding sound. As it turned out, I had moved in right above a Hawaiian hollow log drum school. Every other night, it was converted into a hula school with a live band of 6 Hawaiian guitars. I decided to soundproof my place, but I didn't hang the door very well, and all the sounds kept drifting in. About this time, like a lot of New Yorkers who find themselves on the West Coast, I got interested in various aspects of California's version of the occult. We would sit around at night while the Santa Ana winds howled outside and ask questions to the Ouija board. I found out a lot of information on my past 9,361 human lives on this planet. My first life was as a raccoon.
And then you were a cow. And then you were a bird. And then you were a hat.
Spelled the Ouija. We said, a hat. We couldn't figure it out. Finally, we guessed that the feathers from the bird had been made into a hat. Is this true?
Yes.
Spelled the Ouija.
Hat counts as half life.
And then?
Hundreds and hundreds of rabbis.
Now, this is apparently my first life as a woman, which should explain quite a few things. Eventually, though, the Ouija's written words seemed to take on a personality, a kind of a voice. Finally, we began to ask the board if the Ouija would be willing to appear to us in some other form.
Forget it, forget it, forget it, forget it, forget it, forget it.
The Ouija seemed like it was about to crash. Please, please, what can we do? We were nagging it now. So you will show yourself to us in some other manifestation.
You should lurk. You should L-U-R-K. Lurk.
Now, I never really figured out how to lurk in my own place, even though it was only a rented place. But I did find myself looking over my shoulder a lot, and every sound that drifted in seemed to be a version of this phantom voice, whispering in a code that I could never crack.
I no longer love your mouth. I no longer love your eyes. I no longer love your eyes. I no longer love the color of your sweater. I no longer love it. I no longer love the color of your sweaters. I no longer love the way you hold your pen and pencil. I no longer love it. Your mouth, your eyes, the way you hold your pen and pencil. I no longer love it. I no longer love it. What Fassbinder film is it? The one-armed man comes into the flower shop and says, "What flower expresses days go by?" And they just keep going by endlessly, pulling you into the future. Days go by, endlessly, endlessly pulling you into the future. And the florist says, "White lily." I went to an acupuncturist and he said, "Do you work with electronics?" And I said, "Yeah, I happen to." And he said, "Well, let me polarize your watch for you because electronics can really be dangerous." One, two. And he offered to come over and polarize my house, but I kept picturing these shelves and shelves of blank masters, and I said, maybe let's skip the polarization of my house. This filter here is a voice of
Authority. It's the voice of a kind of shoe salesman or of a guy who's trying to sell you an insurance policy you don't really want or need. Pirates actually invented ventriloquism. So I keep stuff like this around my house, you know, just to remind me of these kind of issues.
I use backup singers from boxes, electronic backup singers. These are some girls. And they come in. Well, I see by your outfits that you are a cowboy.
Well, I see by your outfit, you're a cowboy too.
Well, I see by your outfits you're a cowboy too. This filter here is something that I was using in a song called Coolsville, and it has a delay like this, like this, like this, like this. Just repeats itself like that. And it's for a song I wrote for a film. I shot a film in Japan about people going to work, and you just see their faces in the subway, just watch their expressions, and I really loved watching this loop, and so I wrote a song about these people going to work. It's called Coolsville. Hey, little darling, hey, I'm coming your way, little darling. You know, where you work is really important, and for me, I really like being in the clutter of my house, and so I like to work here. There's just a lot of good junk, and well, like this drum, for example. This is beautiful little ceramic drum, which I used for some basic tracks, and it goes like. I met this guy, and he looked like he might have been a hat check clerk at an ice rink, which in fact he turned out to be. And I said, "Oh boy, right again." Let X equal X. You know, it could be you. It's a sky blue sky. Satellites are out tonight. Let X equal X. You know, I could write a book, and this book would be thick enough to stun an ox. 'Cause I can see the future, and it's a place about 70 miles east of here where it's lighter. Linger on over here. Got the time? Let X equal X. This postcard, and it said, "Dear amigo, dear partner, listener, I just want to say thanks. So, thanks. Thanks for all the presents. Thanks for introducing me to the chief. Thanks for putting on the feedback. Thanks for going all out. Thanks for showing me your Swiss Army knife. Oh, and thanks for letting me autograph your cast. Hugging kisses XXXX 00000. tell you a story about Coco Boco, the island where I come from. The beaches are littered with rotten coconuts, and there are pieces of old skulls lying around. Jewels and sand and rising water, visions I have seen and cries I've heard. I can't put these things into words. Might as well put some beans in a hollow gold and shake, shake it. I put it on an ice cap with a white polar bear. I've been up and down the golden stairs. I've seen whales caught in sails, all twisty-twee to me. I don't say much. Jewels and sand and rising water, visions I've seen and cries I've heard. I can't put these things into words. Might as well put some beans in a hollow golden. There are lots of people who talk just to hear the sound, the sound of their own voices. But take an empty shell and put it up to your ear. You can hear the ocean rumbling around in there. Ooh, the greasy wheel, it goes round. The humming of the breeze, it makes a wishing and a whirring sound. A sudden silence when the burning sun goes down. Jewels and sand and rising water, visions I've seen and cries I've heard. I can't put these things into words. Might as well put some beads in a hollow gold and shake it, shake it.
It was the night flight from Houston. Almost perfect visibility. You could see the lights from all the little Texas towns far below. And I was sitting next to a 52-year-old woman who had never been on a plane before. And her son had sent her a ticket and said, "Mom, you've raised 10 kids. It's time you got on a plane." She was sitting in the window seat, staring out. And she kept talking about the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper and pointing. And suddenly, I realized that she thought we were in outer space, looking down at the stars. And I said, "You know, I think those lights down there are the lights from little towns. A while ago, I was camping out in Kentucky. And I was sleeping out under this ledge, and about 3 in the morning I woke up, and the fire was out, but I could see 2 boots standing a few feet away. I crawled out, and there was a guy standing there with a musket. He said, "We eat critters." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Critters, squirrel, possum, night animals. We hunt them at night." He said he didn't think it was a good idea for a woman to be alone in those parts, and he invited me back to his house. I followed him and ended up staying a week. His name was Mr. Taylor, and he was married to Mrs. Taylor. They were also brother and sister, but they didn't think that was too strange because their parents were also brother and sister. There were 4 Taylor kids: Jack, Jim, Rhonda, and Jim. 2 Jims for some reason. We'd get up every morning and sort of hack around in the tobacco patch. And when it got too hot, we'd just sit around on the porch and sort of stare out. The landscape around there was completely desolate, except for the tobacco plants. Standard Oil had strip mined it in the 30s. And just when some vegetation was beginning to grow back, they discovered that a certain kind of low-grade shale could be converted to oil. So they came back in and drilled holes, very deep holes, hundreds of feet down into the bedrock. But they never got around to filling them in afterwards. They just sent down a shipment of manhole covers, but nobody ever bothered to put them over the holes. One day, Mrs. Taylor told me that she used to have another kid, but that he had apparently fallen down one of these holes. Her description was very abstract. Nobody tried to rescue him. He just fell down the hole. She said, "Well, one day I saw him out there, and I was watching, and then I didn't see him out there no more." But starting is always the hard part. It's like stuttering. You're only afraid at the beginning. That's where the fear is. So you only stutter at the beginning of the word, when it's starting. Nobody ever stutters at the end. There's no stuttering, because by then, it's too late to be afraid. By then, there are only the regrets. was sitting around in my studio, feeling sorry for myself, and the phone rang, and a voice said, "This is so-and-so, and I'm from NASA, and we'd like you to be the first artist in residence here." And I said, "You're not from NASA." And I hung up the phone. About 5 minutes later, the same person called, and I said, "Come on, I mean, I was sure it was a fan who had figured out what my secret dream was and had decided to torture me." Now, finally, I called someone at NASA, and he said that yes, I had actually been chosen to be the first artist in residence at NASA, and he wanted to see if I was interested. And I said, "Well, what does an artist in residence actually do? I mean, what does that mean with a space program?" And they said they didn't really know what that meant, and what did I think it meant? And I thought, who are these people? And then I saw Lola Bell's face, and she had one of these brand new expressions. And first was the realization that she was prey, and that these birds had come to kill her. And second was a whole new thought. It was the realization that they can come from the air. I mean, I never thought of that. A whole 180 more degrees that I'm now responsible for. It's not just the stuff down here, the dirt and the rocks and the smells and the trees, but all of this, too. And the rest of the time we were in the mountains, out on the trails, she just kept looking over her shoulder and trotting along with her head in the air. And she had this whole new gait, really awkward, not with her nose to the ground following the smells, but pointing straight up, sniffing, sampling, scanning the thin sky, like there's something wrong with the air. And I thought, where have I seen this look before? And then I realized it was the same look on the faces of my neighbors in New York in the days right after 9/11, when they suddenly realized, first, that they could come from the air, and second, that it would be that way from now on. It would always be that way. And we had passed through a door, and we would never be going back. Yes, night is when the mind rests and prepares for the next day. Here we go again. as a team sport. Life as something that uncoils inside us. A world that comes in through your skin. And dogs hobbling across the mud to a brownish yellow sea. A sick monkey on the beach. The food, however, is delicious. I have to say that much at least. And animals popping out of their holes for a last look before the winter snows. Lights out.
Diego used to be a guard at the Museum of Modern Art. He was on the night shift. And his job was to go around the museum and tell people to leave. Or as he put it, snap them out of their art trances. People who'd been standing in front of one thing for hours. He would jump in front of them and snap his fingers. And he'd say, "Time to go. Time to go. Time to go."
with you.
I'll
Be
there.
I'll never
Leave you. Your
shirt
on
my
chair. Come,
here,
little
girl,
get
into
the car.
It's
A
brand
new
Cadillac, bright
red. Come,
here,
little
girl. Hey, haven't
I've
seen
you
somewhere
before. Your despair,
in my heart, bright
red.
your
Words
in
my
ears.
I'll be,
With you,
I'll
be